Okay, so I'm going to be talking about Lars and the Real Girl, and related to our readings this week. And to be quite honest, when I watched this movie, it was kind of difficult to really see who was the full-on leader throughout it. But after reading through the text more and connecting the points, I came to the conclusion I thought Karen was actually the most obvious leader, I guess, after thinking about all the points in this film, and I'll explain, each of my points as I go through the presentation. All right, now, the first point in Maxwell's reading was that the law of magnetism, and this means that you draw people to you who possess the same qualities that you possess. And some of the points were the same values as you, same attitudes, same background, same energy, and then there were also generation, giftedness, and leadership ability. And I thought that this related to Lars in a way because Lars creates Bianca with the same background he has, that both their mothers had died and both are religious. And Karen definitely showed this when she asked for help from the community and the people closest to her to help foster Lars' delusion. And I feel like the people that she was asking were the same type of people like her. They had the same values, the same attitude. They were glad to help. At first they were a bit skeptical, but, they came around and you saw in the movie the whole community helped out and, truly helped Lars and, it made the community even stronger, I feel like. So, I feel like that couldn't have been started without Karen. And Lars, at first, was not attracted to Margot, and Margot was one of the ladies that he worked with, and I feel like that was because of their different energy levels. So this is kind of opposite of the law of magnetism. Once he became happy towards the end, it changes, and he was attracted to her. But before he was happy, she had too high of an energy level for him to be attracted to her. Alright, and the next one is law of connection, and that basically states you have to touch people's hearts before you're able to touch their head and influence them. And one of the quotes I really liked in this section was, "The tougher the challenge, the greater the connection." And I feel like this entire movie, giving in to Lars' delusion and to help him through it was a huge challenge for many people, especially his brother Gus. And I think Karen was the great connector in the sense that she never stopped trying to make connections. She reached out to her church organization and, let everyone know, and she asked for their help, and they ended up, helping out and gave Bianca, flowers, after church. And she also definitely helped Lars' brother Gus, help him try to see why this needed to be done, and eventually he was able to see that, even though he probably took the longest to get on board with the whole, delusion fantasy. But in the end, Karen, none of that would have been possible if Karen didn't, reach out. And Lars' delusion was difficult for some to understand at first. But because he did have a good connection with the community, they were able to get on board. Everyone liked Lars. No one had anything bad to say about him. So he did have a connection with the community. And I believe that is why the community was able to help him, because they cared so much about him. Right? And the next point that Maxwell talked about was the law of inner circle. And this basically was, your potential is determined by those closest to you. So this made me think of just being in a group and working with a team. Like, no matter what, you cannot succeed alone. Especially if you're a leader, you need followers, and followers need leaders, so you need a team to be there, especially to gain feedback from each other and figure out how to grow and figure out how to accomplish the goal that you want to accomplish. And in the film, Lars definitely needed his brother and Karen to be there for him, whether he saw that or not. I'm not entirely sure because he had his fantasy, but they recognized that and they were able to be there for him. And the entire community and doctor helped him succeed. Without everyone getting on board, I don't think he would have been able to let go of Bianca in the way that he did and move on. And especially the doctor too. She, from the beginning, was able to see that he needed help, and she got on board and talked to him and helped him every week, and it's a big reason why he was able to succeed. And Lars wouldn't have been able to succeed, like I said, if it weren't for Karen asking help from her inner circle in the first place. I truly believe that Karen really, jump-started the whole process because she cared so much and she was a leader and she was able to, reach out to her community and to her close friends for help. All right, and the next point I'll talk about is emotionally intelligent leadership. So Shankman's book. All right, and one part was the first part was authentic, which means leaders need to keep their promises, and actions definitely speak louder than words. And you can definitely see that actions speak louder than words in everyday life. Leaders may say one thing but then do something completely different. And I can definitely relate to this, actually, because one of my bosses at work, will say one thing, but then end up doing something completely different, and she never stays consistent. And because of that, she isn't really respected at work, and I don't even know if she realizes that. But I can definitely relate to that. That's a big one for me. And I feel like Karen and Gus being eventually, kept the promise to the doctor to go along with it. When they brought him to the doctor, I forget her name, she told them that they need to go along with it in order for Lars to get over it, to get over this delusion and whatever he had going on. So Karen did keep her promise to the doctor, and she did go along with it, and it ended up working out. So definitely Karen showed, controlling her emotions in a leadership standpoint by keeping that promise, and that was a big thing that I saw. The next point is flexibility, and this is just being open and adaptive to changing situations. And obviously this was a huge change for everyone when Lars decided to fall in love with a plastic doll. But Karen was open, and she did keep her emotions in check throughout the entire movie. One of the big parts I remember seeing this is when when Bianca first came over to have dinner that first night, and everyone was just staring, especially Gus. But then when they went into the kitchen, Gus started freaking out, and she kept him in check, and she kept her emotions in check, and she even brought a salad for Bianca. So she definitely, kept everything in check and controlled herself, and that is huge for when you're a leader. Sometimes when things, don't go the right way, or something you don't believe in, you might want to explode. But part of being a leader and being respectful is you have to control those and, just keep them to the side and keep the big picture in your mind. And I think Karen was definitely able to do that, which is why I keep seeing her as a leader in this film. Right, and the last two, achievement is basically you pursue what you're passionate about to a high level and inspire others. And I feel like Karen was definitely in it for the long run. I remember that that Gus asked her if she thought he was ever going to get over it, and she said no. But still, she went along with it. She didn't give up. I'm not sure if she really believed he would ever get over it, or maybe she was just saying that, but regardless, she was passionate about helping Lars and, being that motherly figure. So she was definitely in it for the long run. And the community was inspired, I believe, by that. So that helped Lars let go of Bianca. And because even the community was passionate about it, they inspired others, and it just kept going on and on. So it was just eventually the entire town. And you can see this by them telling Bianca she wanted to volunteer or read a book to children or doing all these different things. And you can definitely tell that that's passion, and they really wanted to see Lars, achieve it, or maybe they were just fond of Bianca. It's hard to tell because they were so good at helping. So the next thing is optimism, and this is probably one of my favorites because I like being a positive person. I like being around positive people, and optimism just helps others see the possibilities. And I feel like Karen was, this was her. She was a light of positivity and optimism. Whenever someone had something negative to say, especially Gus, she stayed positive and optimistic and just kept on, pushing through. And I think that's a huge thing when you're a leader, because things might not always go right and your people might get let down. So you have to be that person that brings them back up and, tells them it's okay that, you're supposed to fail. You're not supposed to get everything right on the first try, and to keep pushing through, to be positive and optimistic. And I believe that is it. And